Hi everybody and welcome back to the 2018 Fantasy Football Draft Lottery. I am your host, Todd Kiper, Berman Jr. Excited to be here. It's Sunday. It's a football day. It's also Father's Day. Teams will be bred today. I find it ironic we're having our Fantasy Football Draft on Father's Day. Fathers breeding, of course, teams being bred. And they'll be bred right here with the Fantasy Football Draft Lottery Wheel. Excited to get that going. We will unveil it later, the old unveiling of the ping pong ball machine. Really exciting to be here. Really exciting stuff again. I am Todd Kiper, Berman Jr. What a fantastic season we had in Dan Ingram's league last year. The 2017 league was filled with intrigue, filled with drama. A lot of 7-6 teams, a lot of 6-7 teams going right at it, right there, right next to each other. We actually had a 7-6 team win the championship, which is, I don't want to say unheard of, but it's certainly not something you hear about very often. I'm not sure the terminology for that. I might have already said it earlier, but anyways, we're moving on. Of course, we will review the team standings this year. We're going to talk a little bit about some keepers. We got some new intrigues. We had some power rankings written last year. Going to try to put my foot forward and maybe get involved in those power rankings this year. As your host, Todd Kiper, Berman Jr., I feel like that would be something that would be a lot of fun for the league. Just throwing it out there. Anyways, this isn't about me. This is about you guys. This is about 2018 Fantasy Football Draft Lottery. Excited to be here again. Excited to be your host. As I mentioned earlier, we got a new little bit of intrigue this year. We got keepers coming into the league this year. I thought it'd be a good thing to review those keepers as we start. Of course, the keeper position, you keep a guy, you lose the slot in that draft position. I'm going to go over those right now for you. I apologize for the delay. So first off, looking at the keepers, we've got Dan Ingram, the league's commissioner. He's going to be keeping on to Alshon Jeffrey with that third-round pick. As you'll see, third-round picks aren't very highly valued this season. A lot of teams giving up that third-round pick, much like the English 1000 class. Not a real high-value class, something that you kind of blow off. But I guess that's what the third-round pick is. Again, Crane is giving up Keenan Allen. A surprising third-round give up, but he is our champion. Of course, we will get to him later in the show. Tom Hummel, of course, keeping Aaron Rodgers. As a Packers fan, it's a no-brainer for him. Mike Zimmerman with a real steal. Kareem Hunt with the third round, a new guy in the league, a rookie to the league, making a nice keeper move in his first year. We're all rookies, of course, in this keeper league scenario, but Mike Zimmerman seems to be on top of it. Jordan Mallon, a guy who's always at the top of the standings, keeping Leonard Fournette, losing his third-round pick. Nathan Sprunk, a guy that lived in Kansas City for a while, keeping a Kansas City Chief. Surprising as a Broncos fan that he's loyal to his Chiefs. Seems like a real traitorous move, something that, whatever that guy, Benedict Arnold, real Benedict Arnold move here by Nathan Sprunk. Fourth round, keeping Travis Kelce. This is where I think it really starts to get interesting. Guys, when you get that 6th, 7th round, keeping real high-quality players. You're looking at Cameron Herman keeping Russell Wilson, a great quarterback with that 7th round keeper value. You got David Kolb keeping Jarvis Landry. I guess I should have reviewed these more. I apologize for my initial reaction. It wasn't meant to be that bad. It's like I just smelled a bad fart. I do apologize. But Jarvis Landry recently traded from Miami to Cleveland, looking to make that connection with Tyrod Taylor. Eventually, you got to assume Baker Mayfield's going to take over there the quarterback position for the Cleveland Browns. David's giving up him with the 7th round. Mark Flower, another rookie owner, making a great keeper move, keeping Derrick Henry, who looks to take over that starting backfield role with the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans, of course, with a new coach, and Mike Vrabel coming over from the Houston Texans, was a linebacker coach. Not a lot of times you see a position coach switching from the head coach. That doesn't matter. Anyways, we're talking about fantasy football today. I'm excited to be here, as I'm super jacked up. The next round, of course, my guy, Evan Green. Not my guy, I should say. But as a Viking fan, Evan Green keeping Thielen with the 10th rounder, an absolute steal of value, where will be a top 10 receiver this year. Evan Green knows that he's a lawyer. He does that kind of stuff. He makes big-time money moves. And, of course, the real value, the real steal of the keeper rounds was this guy, Brett Kohler. He keeps Carson Wentz with the 14th round pick. Carson Wentz, who was the best fantasy football quarterback last season. Kohler gets him with a 14th round value. Leaves a lot of options for him, in particular in that third round. He's going to really succeed, really find himself some good draft picks. Of course, that depends on where he gets his draft pick. But let's go right into the standings last year. We're going to start from the bottom, work our way to the top, much like Drake did in 2010. He started from the bottom, now he's here, and that's what Max Goldterman is looking to do. Team name Officer I Ain't Got No Priors. Not a very high-scoring team, but not a guy who got a lot of points scored against him. Only 1.2 margin difference for him. Looking at his team here, though, not a lot of top 10 players. Had some real depth at the quarterback position, which was good to see. DeMarco Murray, unfortunately, lost a lot of his carries to Derrick Henry later in the year, which probably hurt Goldterman as an owner. A 6-7 regular season, not good enough to get him into the championship. 26 acquisitions, 3 trades. Maybe he's going to be a little bit more active this year. Some years he's more active, some years he's not. Depends on when he puts down the pipe. We don't really know what he's going to do. But anyways, Looking at this team, though, not again a lot of top 10 players. Probably what do you expect from a guy who was in the bottom of the league, unfortunately, in the playoffs. Might have turned off his computer, might have ran out of a phone charger. Who knows? Golterman, you're a great owner. You're going to have a lot of success this year. Marvin Jones, Delaney Walker, Marshawn Lynch, a lot of big names, not a lot of big-time results. Looking to change that this year. Looking at his bench here, though, he did have some depth. He had Jack Doyle, the the Indianapolis tight end. Could have a real resurgent year with Andrew Luck finally being able to pick up a football. Of course, he had that dead arm for about a year and a half. Who knows if he'll ever be able to do this motion again. I know that motion would come in handy for Andrew Luck. Apparently, he can do that. But, yeah, the throwing, not a big-time move. But looking to have a bounce-back year for Jack Doyle. Maybe somebody he could have probably kept. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyways, Golterman always gets a good kicker. He got Justin Tucker again. Had a tough year, had made few transactions, not necessarily ones that worked out. I know he made a couple trades with Brett Kohler, a couple trades with a couple other guys. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up at the top of my head. Of course, this whole thing has been making up at the top of my head. But again, as a 6-7 regular season owner, you struggle to lose those last games. End the season 6-9, not an ideal season for Golterman. A guy, though, who's always going to see himself in contention. Again, this season, looking at the regular season standings, was absolutely brutal. Golterman, I believe, was one of the first people out of the playoffs. Just looking at standings here, one of the first people out of the playoffs. Officer ain't got no priors. The only prior that he had, he might have a prior for having a team that didn't have a very good season. Moving on to the next team, we're looking at the Prince of Park Ridge. That's right, a local St. Louis guy moved to Chicago, adapting a lot of Chicagoan ways, from what I'm told, and slowly working his way into the league. A rookie in the league, trying to feel his way out for the league, just trying to feel it out, trying to feel out the scene, trying to see what's going on. Where's the hip and happening crowd? Where's the crowd that doesn't know what they're doing? Where's the crowd that's too blacked out too early? That's what the Prince of Park Ridge, that's what owner Mark Flower was doing this season. Again, had a decent regular season. Looking at his standings here, another 6-7 finish. A high-scoring team, one of the highest-scoring teams in the league. 109.7, you got to look at that schedule. Had a couple tough breaks, a couple tough games where he could have probably won. He actually had one of the largest margins of victory last year at 7.5. And actually had a decent amount of points scored against him, under 2.3, so it's not like he got lucky. Again, the schedule really didn't work in his favor. Looking at his roster, Mariota, Derrick Henry, of course, he's keeping Derrick Henry. Surprised he didn't keep Alvin Kamara, who was the number 3 fantasy running back last year. This guy had a lot of top 10 players. Again, I'm in the firm belief if you have 6 top 10 players, you have a chance at a championship. And Mark Flower he had that almost. He had Kamara, Tyreek Hill, the number 5 receiver, Larry Fitzgerald, the number 6 receiver, Zach Ertz, number 3 tight end, the Eagles D, number 3. He had Benjamin Watson, another good tight end on the bench. Could have played him in the flex position. Didn't. But Mohamed Sanu, who had a good resurgent year, only ranked 30th in the year because he had some injuries, was dinged up, was going out too many times in the A-Town up. You know what I'm talking about. Not really hip with the hip-hop nowadays. But that's what Mark Flower is as the Prince of Park Ridge. He is hip. This is a guy that looks to have a big bounce-back year. I'm about to burp. I apologize if it comes out. But as the 11th place team, he didn't have a good playoff season. Probably, again, turned off his computer, lost his charger. Probably was mailing it to Golterman, who said he needed a charge. Anyways, not to beat a dead horse, but there it is. Now we're looking at the Dumpster Divers, which was one of the worst teams in the regular season. Actually, the worst team in the regular season. Had a 4-8 record, and it wasn't due to a lack of trying. He had 33 acquisitions, 7 trades. This is a league that's flipping and flopping more than a swingers club. You know, they're passing players around like it doesn't even matter. Like nobody has any affection or affiliation with anybody. Nobody cares. Anyways, that's the kind of league this is. Looking at his team, though, he had Aaron Rodgers, the 29th quarterback. Again, he was hurt for most of the season, so surprised to see him in the starting lineup. But he had Mark Ingram, a couple good players. His running back position was a little weak, though. Second running back being Jamal Williams. His receivers really let him down. Demaryius Thomas, Kenny Stills. Jared Cook, a decent tight end, but not great. Sterling Shepard, the third wide receiver for what was a bad New York Giants team, which probably translates to why this was a bad team. The best player on your team is a defense. That's never a bad thing. Defense is good, but it doesn't win championships in fantasy football. The Dumpster Divers, again, not a high-scoring team. Only averaged 94.7. That's actually the lowest in the league. Did have 104.3 points scored against him, which was one of the highest. So you could say it was a little bit of bad luck. But for the most part, not really a great team. The Dumpster Divers, not a great team. Tom Humble didn't have a great season. This is a guy that's looking to bounce back. He's had some good seasons. He's had some bad seasons. Another guy that's living in the Chicago area. Maybe you could swing some trades with the Chicago guys, the Prince of Park Ridge. We'll talk about the Hard Knocks life a little bit later. Maybe Slater and the Mountain Men. Maybe they're willing to help Tom Humble out. Give him some draft strategies. Because it doesn't seem to be working. Of course, he will have Rodgers on his roster already with that third-round pick. For me, a little high for a quarterback keeper, but that's just me. I'm Todd Kiper, Berman Jr. I'm not even in a fantasy football league, so who knows, you know? Anyways, the one person who might know is You Can't Touch D's. That's right, Evan Green, who makes a real steal of a keeper around with that Derrick Henry. 27 acquisitions, 3 trades. This is a guy who some people are skeptical with trading with. As a lawyer, he knows more of the legalities of the trades, the contracts, the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns, the roller coasters. That's what life is. It's a roller coaster. And it was a roller coaster season for Evan Green. Again, a 6-7 regular season. Put up a decent amount of points. His margin of victory was 4.1, so he was in the green. 105.8 points per game, 101.7 against him. Again, so he had some good luck, had some good teams, you know. I don't know where I was going with that. That's why I said the exaggerated teams. I dragged it out. A couple E's, couple A's. Threw a couple M's in there. But that's what You Can't Touch These did. You're looking at the roster here. Decent roster. He's keeping Thielen with that 10th round pick again. But he had the number 2 fantasy quarterback last year, Cam Newton, who seems to be good. It seems to be Gad. Seems to be all and the ugly. I was trying to, Clint Eastwood, Cam Newton was the quarterback for You Can't Touch These. Melvin Gordon, the number 5 running back, a real steal. He looked great coming out of the gate for the Los Angeles Chargers. More like the Orange County Chargers from somebody who's broadcasting live here in Hollywood. I can tell you that the Chargers aren't pretty much in Los Angeles. It's a hell of a drive down there. The Carlos Hyde, a real great steal. Now a Cleveland Brown. We'll see how that works out for him this year. But it worked out well for Evan Green as a San Francisco 49er last year. Des Bryant didn't have a great year. Adam Thielen was a top 10 receiver. Hunter Henry already out for this year. But he was a decent tight end last year. The number 14 tight end, Jerick McKinnon, who again signed a big contract with the San Francisco 49ers this year. Not a lot of depth in this squad. That's one thing I'm looking at it, not seeing a lot of depth. But he did have a couple of big players. He had that Newton, he had Gordon, he had Carlos Hyde. That's 3 top 10 players right there. Of course, he has the top 10 kicker in Chris Boswell. This is a guy that moved his kicker around, didn't always have the same kicker throughout the entire season. Maybe that played a little factor into him. Maybe he needs to stop kicking his kickers off the team and keep them into, keep them in the lineup. Nice little punny there for you. But yeah, moving on to our second rookie owner of the year. That's Hard Knocks Life. Of course, his logo, HBO, the home box office. It was certainly a film. A real drama watching his season unfold. Looking at his regular season record here, Michael Zimmerman, 7-6, one of those guys that barely missed the cut of the playoffs again. Looking at this league, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 12 owners either had a 7-6 or 6-7 record. That just goes to show you that parity is an all-time high in the Ingram Fantasy Football League. It's absolutely outstanding. It's an exciting league to be in. We got those power rankings, which again were just intriguing. It really raised the drama. People hated each other. A lot of hate mail coming my way. I sent out a lot as well. A lot of it came back. I don't have your addresses. Again, the postal mailing service isn't quite what it used to be. I'm going to start sending threatening emails about the power rankings. But anyways, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Hard Knocks Life. We're talking about Michael Zimmerman, a 7-6 season, 32 acquisitions, 8 trades. Again, another owner who is, right in the middle of the pack there as far as acquisitions and movement and trades and all that fun stuff. Look at the roster here. Decent roster, though. Derek Carr at the quarterback position, who had a better year in 2016, 2017, maybe 2018 will be a bounce back year for him. Bouncing back like that Young Jeezy song, Bouncing Back. Maybe if that's not a Young Jeezy song, it should be. Christian McCaffrey is the number 13th ranked running back. He was on the roster for Hard Knocks Live. Kareem Hunt, he's getting with that 3rd round value, the great Kiper value. Excited to see that for him. Robbie Anderson, a New York Jets wide receiver. Did he have a big game, big boomer bust guy? Looking at Devontae Adams, another big boomer bust guy. Jason Witten, your consistent 5 to 8 point tight end. Never going to get you that win, but he's going to keep you in games. Of course, Stephon Diggs, the Minneapolis Miracle, fantastic football player, and a fantastic fantasy player for Michael Zimmerman last year. If it wasn't for injuries, he would be a top 10 receiver. The Bears D, a surprising top 10 fantasy football finish last year. Adam Vinatieri, Mr. Consistent there for the Indianapolis Colts. Mr. Consistent in fantasy football. Excited to see what he does this year. Looking at the bench, 0 depth. Not even going to go over the bench. Doug Baldwin, probably the best player he has on the bench. Why weren't you playing him in the last game of the season? Probably due to injury. Hard Knocks Life. Looking at it here, he actually had a negative point differential. He only averaged 93 points a game, which was on the lower end of the spectrum for the league. Actually, it was the lowest in the league, surprisingly. Looking at that roster, again, a lot of boomer bust players, which makes sense. Luckily for him, he only had 97.9 points scored against him. I don't know who he had to kill to get that kind of luck. Certainly, the next guy we're going to talk about, who has had the most points scored against him, or at least the second most points scored against him for 3 consecutive years, would certainly like to know, what voodoo are you doing, sir? And that moves us on to our next team, the number 7 team, a team who came into the playoffs. He was the number 11 team in the playoffs. It's a fantastic season, a fantastic owner, a great person. And that's Bald Guy's Rule, and that's Brett Kohler. Looking at his team, not a very high-scoring team, but again, this guy had 109.5 points a game scored against him. There's not much you can do. A lot of really big games. Let's look at his schedule here and just see how many big games he had against him. He had 144 point a game against him. He had 128. He had 138. He had 119. He had 121, 130, 119, 115, 138, and 102.5. It's hard to win when you have so many people putting up that many points against you. It almost brings you to tears with how frustrating it is as an owner. But looking at his roster, maybe he doesn't deserve to be as high as he thinks he does. He has Tyrod Taylor at the quarterback position, who actually is a good fantasy quarterback, not necessarily a good real-life quarterback. Of course, real life does count more in real life versus fantasy, but we're talking fantasy here. We're talking Cinderella. We're talking Shrek. We're talking The Incredibles 2, a fantastic movie, 95 rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Look it up. Anyways, look at the running back position. He got really hurt with the late season trade of Jay Ajayi to the Philadelphia. I don't even know if I can call it late season. I can call it middle of the road. Maybe he peaked early. Jay Ajayi was doing great for the Dolphins, got traded to the Eagles, took a while to get acclimated to that offense. Of course, won a Super Bowl, so it worked out for Jay in real life. But again, we're not talking real life. We're talking fantasy football. One person that did work out for was Kenyon Drake, his running back, the 33 ranked running back. Looking at the wide receiver position, the number of trade offers that were offered to Brett about Julio Jones is through the roof. It's exponential. It's not even a number. It's one of those 3.14 gazillion numbers. It's like pie, except not as tasty. Anyways, Julio Jones had a great season, the number 4 wide receiver. T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. actually won a couple games, actually beat Dan Ingram because of T.Y. Hilton. Had a couple fantastic games, but only the 25th wide receiver. Again, boomer bust. But Jacoby Brissett there at the quarterback position really impacted his season. Evan Ingram was the number 5 tight end last year, a really great pickup, somebody that was considered holding on to as a keeper, but the quarterback position was too much again. The Carson Wentz keep was fantastic. Devontae Freeman was his flex position, number 14 running back. He's had better years, was a disappointing player for Brett. Looking at the Vikings defense was fantastic. Harrison Butker was kicking the butt kicking out of the ball. Absolutely phenomenal player. Looking at his bench, again, not a lot of depth, nothing really to talk about. Again, this is probably one of the owners that does the least. He's a loyal owner, almost to a fault. He likes the people that he likes. He doesn't like the people that he doesn't like. Some would say he's quick, snappy to make judgments, although he can't snap with his left finger, which is a real problem. He actually only learned how to do that the other day. He's got like an off-shooting pinky. Anyways, that's not what I'm talking about. Bald Guy's Rule is no longer bald, so look for a change name this year. But anyways, moving on to what were our playoff teams. Plan B is my plan A. Which doesn't seem like a strafe strategy. I'm more of the pull-out strategy kind of guy. But hey, more power to you if that's how you get off. Shit, that was really dirty. But looking at David Kolb's team, a team that came into the playoffs with a lot of high hopes. This is a guy, his second year in the league, looking to make some moves. And looking at his roster, he had a really fantastic roster. Alex Smith, the number 4 overall quarterback, had a great season. Finally started chucking the ball downfield. Finally stopped listening to Andy Reid, which was a fantastic move. Looking at the running back position, probably the weakness of David Kolb's team. Javarius Allen, Frank Gore at the running back position, number 25, number 19 ranked running back. But the receivers and the tight ends is where David Kolb made his money. He's a money-making move. He makes money moves. He's the Cardi B of fantasy football. He's got DeAndre Hopkins, Jarvis Landry again, who he's keeping this year, and Cameron Braid, who's the tight end. I'm looking at the flex position. Sammy Watkins could have a big year with Kansas City. Maybe he should have kept him. Probably actually better keeping off Jarvis Landry. Where he really struggled was the defense. I don't know why he has the 22nd ranked defense in the league when there's only 12 teams in the league. You got to tell me that there was somebody better out there. Maybe it was a matchup play. Again, I'm not going to do that much kind of research because I know you guys want to get to the most important thing, which of course is the lottery itself. It's just like a game. It's the game of life. It's a lottery. It's a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen to you. Someday you're making a lot of money. Next day you're sitting on your couch. And next day you're sitting on a futon. That's the way the world works. Anyways, Robbie Gould, though, a great kicker. Again, not a lot of bench depth. Really got hurt. He had the number 1 pick last year, drafted David Johnson, who got hurt in the first week. That had to be devastating to him. A lot of guys that could have had big seasons that didn't on the bench. Jordy Nelson, Amir Abdullah. What in the hell? Sorry about that, guys. But anyways, this is a guy who was fairly active, about the same activity level as Brett Kohler. 16 acquisitions, 3 trades. Lost his last game of the season, 88.7 to 121.3. To our next team, again, he was a 7-6 team, though, so he came into the regular season with some high hopes. Looking at his team here, not a real high-scoring team. Actually scored less points than a lot of the guys below him. He only scored 97.8 a game. But he was lucky, and he actually had the lowest points scored against him in the league. That's right, at 95.9. Will that luck translate over to this year? Kolb's he's a maker of moves, like I said, and we'll see what happens this year. Moving on to the number 5 team, a disappointing playoff performance again, but this is a guy that always gets into the playoffs. An owner that I don't think gets as much as respect as he deserves. He has bold strategies, and they work out for him. That's right. I'm talking about bold strategy Cotton. His strategies can buy you one heck of a pumpkin. He had 23 acquisitions, only 1 trade, though, which goes to show you the lack of faith he has in a lot of these owners in the league. But again, he's a bold strategy guy. He makes bold moves. Looking at this roster, though, he started a lot of bold players. Looking at he had Tom Brady, the number 3 quarterback in the league, always a good, safe fantasy football quarterback. Looking at the running back position, though, not necessarily the greatest form. Alex Collins, Cameron Williams, the number 66 running back. What in the hell are you doing starting him? Some stranger to send in my apartment. I'm going to have to address that issue a little bit later on in the day. But there he is, just murking for the camera. The guitar is sitting right there. God, I hope he doesn't steal it. Anyways, moving on, looking at the wide receiver position, he had a couple guys that, again, a little bit boomer bust, probably could have been helped out with a little bit better quarterback play, in particular the case of Mike Evans, the number 18th ranked wide receiver. Injuries, of course, played a factor. Looking for a bigger season for Mike Evans this year. Juju Smith-Schuster, of course, had some really big gains, really synced well with Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben and Juju obviously went out for a couple burgers, obviously went on a couple motorcycle rides together. Of course, Ben was driving, Juju was in the back, because that's the way it works. It's bad juju if you flip it the other way around. Looking at the tight end position, you got Travis Kelce, number 2 tight end position. As a Broncos fan, again, surprising to see him holding on to Kelce in a keeper league format, but you got to do what you got to do. Rob Gronkowski, the number 1 tight end, injured a lot, but still in that flex position for bold strategy con Nathan Sprunk. Again, a bold owner, 2 tight ends, but when you have the 2 best tight ends in the league, it's a fantastic strategy. Looking at the defense, you got a number 9 ranked defense, the Seahawks, Matt Bryan, the number 9 ranked kicker. You got defensive depth on the bench. You got the Rams defense. I mean, again, this is a guy that drafted a good team, didn't make a lot of moves, didn't need to make a lot of moves. Had 103.8 points per game, had 103.3 against him. So a lot of close games, a lot of almost near heart attacks for this guy. You got to hope he's taking his baby aspirin. Of course, that helps prevent heart attacks. Also, lower levels of caffeine, lower levels of stress. Cut down the nicotine if possible, and that will lead to less heart attacks for you, bold strategy Cotton. Moving on to the next team, we're talking about our commish. We're talking about the spirit of Deshaun lives on. Of course, was riding that Deshaun Watson train early in the season, rode it often, rode it too hard, and just bucked it right off. Anyways, tore his ACL. This is a guy who had 42 acquisitions, 6 trades, so fairly active owner. Not the most active owner in the league, but certainly up there as far as activity goes. Might want to go get yourself checked. Anyways, looking at the roster here, a lot of top 10 players. Ben Roethlisberger, Jordan Howard, Brandon Cooks, almost a top 10 player. Probably expected a little bit more with that Tom Brady connection, but you can only do what you can do. Looking at the tight end position, Jimmy Graham, Deion Lewis. He's got a lot of bench depth, too. Golden Tate, Steelers defense. Chris Ivory had a couple sneaky games. Martavius Bryant, who had a couple sneaky games. Mike Gillislee, who had a couple sneaky games early on. Looking at schedule, he had a really good start, really good middle, not as great end. Lost, of course, in the semifinals in a devastating fashion to our eventual champion. Congrats to our eventual champion, which we're almost to. But yeah, really just a nice season for him. Excited to see what he does this year. Surprised he didn't hold on to Deshaun. Maybe just keep him as a waiver, considering his name is Deshaun lives on. Looking at his stats, he scored a shit ton of points. 1,490 points. That's 114.6 a game. That is the highest of the league. The spirit didn't live on. Of course, Deshaun led the Texans to a lot of high-scoring games. but he also had a decent amount of points scored against him, 102.3. Not the highest in the league, but definitely in the middle of the pack. So he won some good games. Also won some close games, and that 7-6 record, again, a lot of parrying in this league, a lot of swinging, a lot of swipping, a lot of flipping, and a lot of flopping, and that's what he does here. The spirit of Sean lives on. Looking at our next team, of course, regularly the most active owner in the league. That's right, Cameron Herman, Team Send It. 67 acquisitions, that's right. 2 short of the magic number, but 10 trades. Congratulations, Cameron. This year, take it up to 69 transactions. Really push it to the limit. Do the flippity-floppy, the number of the thing, the tape, the whole 9 yards. Make it crazy. But look at its roster, top 10 players throughout the lineup. Russell Wilson, LaShawn McCoy, Ezekiel Elliott, A.J. Green. How did this guy not win the league? Eric Ebron, another tight end who probably you expect better results from, but every once in a while you get a great game. Lamar Miller was an early round draft pick for him this year. You expect more. He was only a 16th ranked fantasy running back, was really surging with Deshaun Watson behind center, but of course really tapered off when Tom Savage and whoever the other guys were for the Houston Texans playing quarterback. Looking at defense, he had the Chiefs' defense was susceptible to big plays, but of course had some big turnovers. Marcus Peters was a fantastic player. If he was a football, an offensive player in fantasy, he might actually be a pretty good player. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, Stephen Gutowski was the number 2 kick. Looking at his bench, a decent amount of depth here. Patriots defense, Nelson Aguilar, Randall Cobb. Receivers was really the focus of his bench this year. If I were him, I would focus maybe on the running back position at the bench this year. Of course, he won his last game in the year, 113.9 to 103.4. This was the guy who actually had the most points scored against him by 0.1 points over Brett, 109.6. He scored 101.3 a game. So for him to be 7-6 and to finish with a third place finish was an absolutely fantastic season. Send it to that third place trophy. Send it to that bronze medal. Congratulations, Cameron Herman. Now looking at it, the robber is crawling on the floor. I apologize for the laughter. You can cross in the back. We got a cross in the back coming here eventually. Slowly and quietly opening the cabinet. But looking at our number 2 team, our regular season champ. That's right, Slater and the Mountain Men, a defending champion, a guy who made it to the playoffs, the championship again, was looking for that back-to-back but couldn't quite capitalize. 1,384 points scored, 1,307.2 points scored against him. That's right, we do 0.2, we do 0.3, we do 0.7 points in this league. That's how much we care. We go down to the decimal point. Anyways, Jordan Mallon, 45 acquisitions, 5 trades. Looking at this team, top 10 depth across the board. Dak Prescott, Leonard Fournette, Le'Veon Bell, Michael Thomas, Ravens D, Greg Olsen, Josh Gordon, who was great late in the season. Looking at his bench, Matt Stafford, C.J. Anderson, Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky. Don't know why he was on your team. Mitchell stinks. Anyways, the tight end, I mean, this is a team that should have won a championship. Lost in just really devastating fashion. Got smoked by our eventual champion. His abbreviation Jizz. He got, I don't want to get too dirty here, but you know what happened to Slater and the Mountain Men. A great logo. Hopefully he keeps his team this year. Honestly, this is one of the guys you want to see keep his name and logo throughout the year. It's a fantastic logo. It's one of those you look at and you go, wow, that's a fantastic logo. But anyway, Slater and the Mountain Men had a great season, always at the top of the standings. I see a lot of these guys are always at the top of the standings. We're looking to make a move up from the lower echelons, trying to make a move up. The upper echelons trying to stay where it is. That's where it is. It's kind of like the U.S. government. It's all the rich white guys on top and all the rest of us here on the bottom, just trying to work our way to the top again. Drake starting from the bottom. And now we are here, of course, to our champion. There's always next year, but guess what? Last year was your year. Dylan Crane, congratulations. You entered the season to playoffs as 7-6 team. You made an absolutely phenomenal playoff run. 45 acquisitions, 1 trade, which goes to show you he was working that waiver wire, trying to see what other people were doing. He was gauging moves. He was waking up at 2 in the morning, setting alarms, making free agency waiver wire moves. A fantastic owner, a guy that really deserves a championship, a guy who puts a lot of effort into it, and you're happy to see it because last year was his year. Looking at this roster again, not as much top 10 depth as maybe Jordan Mallon and Slater and the Mountain Men, but depth nonetheless. Looking at the roster, Phillip Rivers, Todd Gurley, Theo Riddick, Keenan Allen, who is his keeper this year, was the number 3 wide receiver. That makes sense. Number 3 wide receiver, 3rd round pick, given up this year. Bada bing, bada boom, championship. Marquise Goodwin, 31st ranked player overall. Charles Clay, 18th ranked tight end. Not sure what the hell he's doing with Paul Richardson in this fantasy lineup, but what do I know? Because Dylan Crane's a champion. Chargers, 5th ranked defense. Jake Elliott, decent kicker for the Philadelphia Eagles, made a 60-yarder. Of course, he had my man Kirk Cousins on the bench, the number 6 ranked quarterback, a fantastic player. Amari Cooper on the bench. Tarek Cohen on the bench. His bench is better than most of the teams at the bottom of the league. That's why he won a championship. Again, congrats to Dylan Crane. Let's all take a moment. and clap for him. And we took our moment. So anyways, it's that time, folks. That's right. It's time for the actual lottery itself. We're going to pull out the ping pong ball machine here. It's time. The lottery is about to be decided. A lot of big money-making moves, a lot of lives about to be changed in the next 30 seconds. Maybe it might be 2 minutes. I apologize if I underestimated the time. The first pick of the 2018 Fantasy Draft goes to... The first pick is in. The first pick is in. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. That's right. It's Nathan Sprunk. Congratulations, Nathan Sprunk, on the first pick of the draft. Make it count, buddy. Make it count. Don't fuck it up. Anyways, looking on to the second pick of the draft. I don't know where to put these things. They're rolling off the table. Second pick of the draft. Again, a nice pick. A nice pick. Second pick of the draft goes to... a second-year owner. That's right. Michael Zimmerman, Hard Knocks Life. Congratulations, Mike Zimmerman, with the second pick of the draft. Make it count, buddy. Don't fuck it up. Looking ahead to the next pick. That's right. The third pick of the draft. Again, a nice pick. You're going to get a great player. Hopefully a top 10 player. A guy who doesn't get hurt like David Johnson did last year. To Plan B is my Plan A and David Kolb. Third pick is in. Third pick is in. And does this... Oh, another rookie owner. Surprising. Not a rookie owner, but a second-year owner. One of the junior owners in the league, you should say. That's right. I'm blanking on Prince of Park Ridge. That's right. Mark Flower. Congratulations, Mark Flower. Third pick of the draft. Excited for you. Excited to see what you do with the pick. Don't fuck it up. Anyways, looking at the next pick. That's right. The fourth pick. This is where you start getting maybe some good feedback in that second round. Stop getting a... It's an interesting position in the second round as the fourth pick. Oh, it came flying. It came flying. This is a guy that needed it. He was dumpster diving. His vision had changed. He'd been drinking too much. He was seeing bad things. But that's right. The fourth pick of the draft is going to Tom Hummel. Congratulations, Tom Hummel. Again, losing that third round pick with Aaron Rodgers, so you got to make those first two picks count. Tom Hummel, don't fuck it up. Fourth pick of the draft. Fifth pick of the draft goes to... The fifth pick is in. The fifth pick is in. Lucky number 5 for Bald Guys Rule. That's right, no longer bald, but it was a great team name while it lasted. That's right, Brett Kohler, fifth pick of the draft. Congratulations, Brett Kohler. Don't fuck it up. Sixth pick of the draft is going to go to a team. Who knows? Sixth pick of the draft goes to... This is a good pick. Caught it. Oh, this is a good pick. Plan B is exactly where he ended up in the standings. Plan B is my Plan A. David Kolb doesn't give you the opportunity to lose a player with the first pick, so if you lose your first round pick, not as devastating this year. But that's right, David Kolb. Congratulations on the sixth pick of the draft, David Kolb. Don't fuck it up. Seventh pick of the draft. It's going to go to a team. It's going to go to our team, eventually. And there it is. Oh, a guy who, officer, he ain't got no priors. The only prior he has is the seventh pick in the draft. Seventh pick of the draft, Max Golterman. Congratulations, buddy. Make it count. Don't fuck it up. I feel like that joke's getting redundant. We will stop making that joke. With the eighth pick in the draft, that's right, the eighth pick. Again, we'll go to a team. And it's going to go to a good man. A guy who's always at the top of standings. He always sends it. That's right, Cameron Herman. Eighth pick in the draft, Cameron Herman. Congratulations. The drama builds. Actually, we're getting to the picks that I kind of like because you get a real quick bounce back in that second round. You get two real high-quality players right off the bat. Ninth pick is going to go to our champion, who doesn't need a high pick because he's a champion. He makes acquisitions. He makes trades. He doesn't make a lot of trades. But this is a guy who always has next year. That's right, Dylan Crane. Dylan Crane, our champion. Congratulations, ninth pick. Don't fuck it up. With the 10th pick, we actually have the 10th pick loaded up here. 10th pick is going to go to our commish. That's right, Dan Ingram, 10th pick. Again, I like these picks, these 10, 11, 12 picks. All right, Dan Ingram, make it count. Don't fuck it up. 10, 11, 12. You get two real high-quality players right off the bat. They got some good keepers, these guys that are left in the board. So excited to see what they do. Looks like we already actually got the 11th pick loaded up here. 11th pick and the 12th pick both came out. I have the 11th pick here. That's right, the lawyer. This is a guy that's going to negotiate some trade position. You know he is. He's going to trade that keeper. He's got a great keeper. with Adam Thielen in the 10th round, so he doesn't necessarily need a high draft pick. Quick back-to-back picks again. That's right, we got Evan Green. Congratulations, Evan Green on the 11th pick of the draft. Make it count. Don't fuck it up. And that leaves our last pick, a guy who's always at the top of the standings, but this year he's at the bottom of the draft. That's right, Jordan Mallon, Slater and the Mountain Men. Quick back-to-back picks, 12th, 13th pick for him. I'm excited to see what he does with it. It's an exciting year. It's an exciting time to be in Ingram's 2018 Fantasy Football League. And then that's our show, everybody. I am your host, Todd Kiper, Berman Jr. I hope you got a few laughs out of this. I hope, and most importantly, you wrote down where you're drafting so you can start getting that mocking going. Again, Father's Day, a day where teams are bred, a day where breeding is in the name. Congratulations, everybody. I hope you have a great season. Have a good one, guys.